man that is not saved, and his video exploring how he feels like there's great power in the fool being inverted, and how he thinks that there's a beautiful storytelling within Kanye's life and his wife. Draws some really bizarre comparisons between God telling the prophet. It slips my mind at this moment. Habakkuk, right? And he marries Gomer to show this picture of spiritual unfaithfulness and the love that God has for Israel. And he has the prophet actually act it out in this very real and very painful manner. He ties that, this guy right here, into Kanye and kind of catalogs all these moments along the way where these things are being done out in the press. You can think of all the moments of problems and issues and things and stuff that Kanye has done to draw people's attention to him. And it's been very effective. But he thinks that there's a story between Kanye marrying this woman. He doesn't actually call her a prostitute, but how, if you know the story of how she rose to fame, I'll let you go figure that out. Um, and what things made her famous and so on and so forth. He draws that comparison to the biblical characters. He also ties in King David and calls him a fool, kind of like a hero fool, so to speak, and all that happened with Bathsheba and so on and so forth, and much more. And he back ties it with Kanye and Kim as if, they've single-handedly taken this life of excess. He goes in and he talks pretty interestingly about entertainment and how people are entertainment drunk, which I actually really liked that tiny portion of his discussion. And he doesn't think that it's efficacious for us to have, this level of assortment of entertainment that is just vapid and meaningless. It adds nothing to life. It's all about the overconsumption of the worthless and how it's being turned now into a purpose, this spirituality. And that's kind of the story that, so he articulates it very well, although I don't think he sees the facade and the veneer that this is all scripted. I think he thinks this is real. That's how he talks about it. He doesn't think this is part of the greater plan of these people. They're actors. They're actors. They've been hired to do this. And so I didn't listen to everything that he had to say, but he thinks that what Kanye is doing is just great. And if you think that he has somehow gotten the deep, rich truth of the gospel and that he is now a converted soul in Jesus Christ, you're wrong. It's actually, this whole thing has only helped to deepen his religiosity that is not founded in a newborn Christian experience. So for all the Christians that are like, I'm looking at Kanye's fruit and I'm seeing some good fruit, y'all. Actually, I think that you're being spoon fed a bunch of scripted lies. And if you actually open your eyes long enough to see what real fruit is coming, this man, if he doesn't ever put his sons on the cross, is going to go cook in hell forever. You should care about that. And so he's listening to this religious train wreck who went from the depths of saying, I am God, not unlike Paul Crouch. I mean, who can forget Paul Crouch screaming out at the camera? I have to do this at least once a month in my house in mockery because it's just so weird. I am a little God. The idea that my children would ever be taken advantage of to believe that we can become gods is pretty laugh worthy in my family with those little moments. Uh, now I really want to go find that video of Paul Crouch doing that. So he's a Christian. He's all ticked off. He's threatening everybody, and he just whoops out this, I am a little God. Well, sadly, God died. and his wife with big pink hair. I can't imagine why the millennials don't want anything to do with religion. I mean, if that's the face of TBN, and that was all scripted to be about as materialistic and entertainment driven and worthless to draw people away as you can get. So were the antics of Kanye saying the same thing. I am God, and being arrogant. So anyhow, in a nutshell, he really spins things in a way that is not what is presented in the gospel. And I almost wonder if this double-mindedness in the scripting is in fact written in such a way that whatever group wants to pour in their own meanings through Kanye's experiences, what he's saying, what he's doing, if it's tailor-made because it's so double-minded, that the group of unbelievers can go to it and get reassurance that there is some way to God, to spirituality, to being made whole, to, getting a life's purpose, et cetera, with just a big, giant, generic spinning, spirituality. And all this use of Kanye using God, 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 title, non-specific. Even if his album is, again, double-mindedly, then called Jesus, which brings in the other end of it, which is the Christians, double-mindedness now, forked tongue, two paths, diametrically opposed, pick a side, whichever you choose. If the Christians are then being led and reading into it what they want to see, and in the end, nowhere do you have a level of consistency. And I can tell you now that if I'm correct, and this man and this woman are in fact empty temples walking around, we've already talked about what that means, not born again, and they're doing these religious services and they are leading people into churchianity that doesn't bring the I hate to say the word product, but I know that you're going to know what I'm saying. The true intention of the saving gospel that leads people to becoming born again, if that is compromised, I can tell you right now that all of the souls that are going to go to hell as a result of being deceived, which is sad, will be put upon these two right here. And even, this is interesting because I never really ever paid attention to this, but even in this picture, and I have no problem with black people being married to white people being married to black people. I have no problem with that. I don't care about that in the slightest. But there is, even in this picture, a level of duality at play with their two beautiful skin colors. Do you see that? Very interesting. And even, here is the sassy, serpent tongue, bad. I think this is when he had the blue contacts in and he had the blonde hair. Everybody's worried about him and, have they MK Ultra'd him and all that stuff, as if, they're deep into this guy's life. There's so much more that could be said about that. But in this portion of duality, that's what it seems to be representing here. And then she seems to be representing, the pure virginesque, wholesome white dove, doe-eyed, whatever, male, female. This also evokes a sense of, I mean, what is he playing here? Like Father God and Mother Earth or Mother Goddess? People might go, well, this is just a picture of a couple. I mean, people take pictures. Don't you take pictures with your loved ones? Yes, but this is art. This is beyond a personal picture. This is art. It is art that is being used to bring in billions of dollars worth of revenue. When you start looking at what their show produces, what their clothing line, just his shoes alone has made him a billionaire. The music, everything that is being used to convey thoughts, images, ideas, and now they have moved into the spiritual realm. See what I'm saying? And it's whatever spirituality you want to derive from it, because he's got something for the pagan. he's got something for the pseudo-Christian, and the Christians have his back. The Christians will bleed for him. No, I know Kanye's saved. I heard him say this, this, and this, and thus it must be so. And I'm always like, you get that people lie, right? So I can't quite tell what's in the background of this picture, but I do think that this is, it's a lovely picture of a couple. I just think that in terms of trying to convince the world that these two really honestly love Jesus Christ more than money or more than themselves is laughable at best.
No, how can anyone that's never met Kanye, doesn't know Kanye, listen to a supposed testimony where he says he's a Christian and not have any evidence of fruit and then just willy-nilly go tell everybody, hey, Kanye is a Christian, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
It's insane.
And her. But as we already checked out in this other video, we saw how she was evoking this image of Mother Mary. Mary is in the Catholic Church, Babylon, is seen as a mother goddess. So, you know, throw Mother Earth in there. Throw this whole pagan religio nonsense into the mix, and you have a much more clearer picture of what's actually happening. Did I have that picture here? I did. Right. I mean, it's pretty gutsy to start walking around with the Virgin Mary in between your whatevers. Come on now. And you would have me to believe, see, she's wearing this skin tight thing here in much of her wardrobe options. And so this is duality in this, you know, immodest apparel, dark. These people know that the camera lights go right through the fabric. So it's not like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. And she's carrying the heart thing, that sacred heart thing or whatever it's called, of the Virgin Mary in her, whatever you want to call it, bosom or whatever. I hate that word. So, again, this is making merchandise off of you because there are people, as hard as that is for me to understand, and they'll buy these candles that she sells. And so this was just 2 years ago in 2017. Okay? And you're not supposed to be lighting candles anyhow. $18? She was selling it for $18? You can't convince me that this is of God. Well, no, she's gotten born again since then. You're naive if that's what you think. Just seriously, I can't spare you the truth. The candle is clearly designed to resemble the ones used by Roman Catholics, which usually features Jesus. Do they not have ones that have Mary? Because I'm pretty sure I've seen both. A saint or some other kind of biblical figure on the front. Kardashian may think this image is cute, but many of her Twitter and, I don't know what that is, Instagram followers were upset. So even back then, they were ticked off. So you're having her vacillate between this religious rudeness that makes merchandise of people and stomps on the toes of, you know, Christ-oriented people and Mary-oriented people. Now, 2 years later, yay, she's been saved in the Armenian Orthodox Church, which actually, if you look into it, you find out doesn't go by the gospel. So people are not even being careful in their assumptions. One wrote in response to Kim's candle GIF, she tweeted, I don't think this is a fun emoji for Catholics. The Virgin Mary is, well, it's Jesus' mom, but they blow it up to something bigger. Another tweeted, you're ridiculous to think of yourself as the Blessed Mother. And yet, I tell you, that's exactly the image she's portraying. That's exactly what she's putting into the collective imagination and understanding of people like that man to convey we are gods. We can do whatever we want. Kim, take this down. You and your husband need to stop thinking you guys are gods. But now 2 years later, oh good Lord. 2 years later, they now want you to believe that they're born again. The voice in the face of Christianity. Are you kidding me? And there's other pagan trios that their other photo is reminiscent of as well on the other side. See what I'm saying? And this is just one example, the Egyptian one, but they have other ones too.